This year's April Fool's Day event in Deadlock completely broke one of the game's biggest rules, the 1 hero per game limit. And honestly, it was absolute chaos. Seeing multiple copies of the same hero running around created some ridiculous moments. And it showed how fun it can be when the normal rules get thrown out of the window. So that got me thinking, what if next year's April Fool's event goes even further? Here are some April Fools ideas I would love to see in Deadlock. One of the funniest small changes could be replacing hero voice lines, but only when interacting with the shop. Instead of hearing your normal voice lines, imagine the shopkeeper speaking with the voice of completely different heroes. So for example, instead of hearing the shopkeeper, you suddenly hear Furnace talking when you open the shop. Or maybe the shopkeeper starts yelling aggressive combat lines while you're just trying to buy items. It wouldn't change the gameplay at all, but it would constantly catch players off guard. And honestly, small chaotic changes like this fit perfectly into an April Fool's event. Another fun idea would be a street brawl mode where everyone starts with legendary items. Instead of slowly building up your strength, you start incredibly powerful. But here's the twist. As the match continues, items downgrade from legendary to tier 1. So the match starts completely chaotic, then slowly becomes more balanced. It would feel like starting at the end game and then fighting your way back to normal gameplay. This one would completely change how players move around the map. Normally, breaking boxes give you souls, but imagine if instead, some boxes gave negative souls or temporary debuffs. Now, suddenly, breaking boxes becomes risky. You'd have to think, is this worth opening or is this going to ruin my fight? That kind of risk-reward gameplay would create a lot of funny and frustrating moments. Especially when someone accidentally debuffs themselves right before a fight. This one's a classic, but it still works. Giant head mode. Every hero suddenly has an oversized head. Not only would it look ridiculous, it would also completely change how aiming works. Headshots would become much easier, and gun-focused heroes would suddenly become extremely dangerous, and fights would probably end much faster than usual. Now imagine the opposite. Tiny hero mode. All heroes get shrunk down to a fraction of their normal size. Suddenly everyone becomes harder to hit, abilities might feel harder to aim, and team fights would turn into complete chaos, with tiny characters running everywhere. You could even imagine this being triggered by the item shrink ray in a separate onslaught just for April Fools. But out of all these ideas, there's one I think would be the most fun. Random abilities mode. Imagine loading into a match, and instead of your normal abilities, every hero gets completely random ones. A tank hero might suddenly have long-range sniper abilities, a support hero might get aggressive close-range attacks, or worst of all, you could end up with abilities that don't work well together at all. And that's exactly what makes it fun, because suddenly no one knows what we're doing. Strategies disappear, meta builds become useless, and every single match turns into pure chaos. You might see ridiculous combinations like high mobility abilities on slow heroes, defensive abilities stacked on fragile characters, or completely mismatched kits that make no sense. And the best part? Every match would feel completely different. No planning, no preparation, just improvisation, which is exactly what April Fool's events should feel like. April Fool's events are all about breaking the rules, and Deadlock has a lot of rules that could be twisted in fun ways. And honestly, that's what makes these events so memorable. But now I'm curious, what April Fool's ideas would you want to see in Deadlock next year? Let me know in the comments. YouTube outro, do your thing, and good luck in your Deadlock matches.